Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world one book at a time.
It is good to be back. And today we're doing something a little different. Usually we're looking at, nonfiction, sociology, economics, history. But today we are tackling a novel.
And not just any novel, we are diving into a book that I honestly found difficult to get through. Not because it's poorly written, it's the complete opposite, but because it acts like a mirror that shows you things about civilization you'd probably rather not see. We're breaking down José Saramago's Blindness, and the central question here is, well, it's terrifyingly simple. What holds society together when the primary system of coordination, our shared perception, just disappears?
It's a terrifying premise. And to contextualize this for you listening, we so often think of societal collapse in terms of like the hardware breaking.
Right. Explosions, wars.
Exactly. Buildings falling down, the grid snapping, the water turning off. But Blindness posits that the collapse happens much, much earlier. It happens when meaning degrades, when trust evaporates.
You just have to look at the modern crises we're facing, right? Disinformation campaigns, pandemics, the sheer failure of trust in institutions. The social contract erodes long before the walls actually do.
It's the software crashing before the hardware breaks.
That's the perfect analogy.
And that really is our thesis for this deep dive. We're treating the white sickness in this novel not just as a medical allegory for, ignorance or something simple. We're treating it as a systemic loss of orientation.
A stress test.
A total stress test for civilization's software, our norms, our morality, our social contracts, when the hardware of our eyesight completely fails. We're going to see just how much of our supposed goodness is actually just habit and how much of our order is just the fear of being seen.
So let's get into the architect of this stress test, José Saramago. I mean, he's a Nobel Prize winner, a literary giant, but his approach to the story is incredibly specific. He doesn't make it easy for the reader.
No, he really doesn't. Saramago was a Portuguese writer, and he was deeply, deeply concerned with the mechanics of power, of responsibility, and human fragility. He wasn't interested in writing a typical disaster thriller at all.
You can tell that from page 1.
Oh, absolutely. If you open the book, the first thing that hits you is the density. It's a solid block of text.
It's so intimidating. There are no quotation marks. The sentence is just run on, sometimes for pages, separated only by commas. You have to really work to figure out who is speaking at any given moment.
And this is the thing that really disorients you the most, I think. Nobody has a name.
Nobody.
You have the doctor's wife, the girl with dark glasses, the boy with the squint, or the first blind man. That's it.
Why do that? Is it just like a stylistic flex, or does it actually serve the system analysis we're talking about?
Oh, it serves it perfectly.
Yeah.
Think about it. Names anchor us to a specific biography, right? If I give a character a name, say John Smith, and I tell you he's from Lisbon and he's an accountant, you immediately view him as a unique individual with a specific history.
You start building a picture of him.
Exactly. By stripping that away, Saramago turns them into archetypes. They become components in a system. These aren't just specific people in a specific city. They are everyman figures. They are variables in an equation that Saramago is about to completely unbalance.
It makes it feel like a laboratory experiment. Like he's put humanity into a petri dish and said, okay, let's remove this one variable site and just see what grows.
Precisely. It universalizes the entire experience. If they don't have names, they could be anyone. They could be us. And we have to talk about the nature of that removed variable. Because when we say blindness, the immediate cultural association is darkness. It's lights out, black.
But here, the lights go on.
That's the thing. It's described as a milky sea, a thick, uniform white color. One of the characters even calls it a resplendent whiteness.
Which I found infinitely more disturbing than darkness. Darkness feels like a place you can hide, you can find shelter. This whiteness feels invasive, it feels relentless. There's no escape from it.
It's a total inversion. And analytically, this is so crucial. If Saramago had made the blindness black, the story would have been about the absence of light. By making it white, it becomes about an excess of light, but a complete absence of meaning.
You can't distinguish anything.
Nothing. So this establishes that the novel isn't just about the tragedy of not seeing, it's about the tragedy of being exposed to an unmediated reality where nothing has edges, nothing has definition. It's a crisis in perception because the physical ability to see is replaced by this terrifying glare. You are trapped inside a light that reveals nothing.
So let's look at how the system shock begins. Let's go to ground zero, patient zero. The setting is so mundane it's almost boring. A traffic light.
The ultimate symbol of social coordination of a system working without anyone even thinking about it.
Exactly. I mean, think about how much faith we put in a simple traffic light every single day. You have the amber light, then the red. The system is working perfectly. Rules, lights, coordination. People are waiting patiently. And then the light turns green. And one car just doesn't move.
And immediately, before anyone knows it's a medical issue, that social contract begins to fray. It happens in a second.
The horns start honking. Drivers get angry. They're banging on their steering wheels. The man isn't seen as a person in distress. He's immediately seen as an obstacle. He's a bug in the system.
He's blocking the flow. He's inefficient. The system interprets his pause as a violation of the rules, not a personal tragedy. It's only when he screams, "I am blind," that the context shifts.
And even then, the reaction isn't pure empathy. It's chaos. People get out of their cars, but they're wary. But this leads to our first real interaction that exposes the fragility of our moral infrastructure. We get the Good Samaritan.
Or maybe we should call him the situational Samaritan.
But that's a good way to put it. The man who offers to drive the first blind man home.
He steps up. He seems helpful, right?
Yeah.
He guides the blind man out of the car. He drives his car for him. He gets him all the way to his door. He seems genuinely kind.
But then he steals the car.
It's such a fascinating moment because Saramago actually dives into this thief's head. It's not presented as a simple villain moment. The thief actually hesitates. He has a moral conscience, or, at least the memory of one.
He knows it's wrong.
He knows stealing is wrong. But the opportunity, the blind man's absolute total vulnerability, creates the crime. Saramago is suggesting that our moral infrastructure is incredibly fragile. It relies on the assumption of reciprocity, that the victim can see you, identify you, and hold you accountable.
That's a chilling thought, that so much of our goodness is just the fear of being washed.
Or that opportunity aids theft, as the text says. Without the gaze of the other, that internal moral compass just starts to spin. But here's the twist, the first hint of the contagion. The thief goes blind too.
Right, while he's driving the stolen car.
And his internal monologue is fascinating. He doesn't think it's a supernatural punishment. He thinks it's fear. He's terrified that he's going to catch this sickness, and the fear is so overwhelming it overrides his greed. But of course the blindness catches him anyway.
And then it spreads. And it spreads fast. We trace the contagion through the doctor's office. This is where we see the failure of the expert class, the failure of our systems of knowledge.
The medical system represents our epistemic authority, right? It's our way of knowing truth. When we're sick, we go to the doctor because they have the map of the body. They have the answers. So the first blind man goes to an ophthalmologist.
And in the waiting room, we meet the other nodes of future transmission.
The girl with dark glasses, who's there for conjunctivitis. The boy with the squint. The old man with the black eye patch.
Just random people sitting in a waiting room, not connected at all. But because of this one shared space, their fates are now completely locked together.
It's the network effect of a pandemic in its purest form. And the doctor, the man of science, of reason, is completely baffled. He looks in his books. He consults all the literature. He checks for agnosia. He checks for amaurosis. But the books fail him.
This part really struck me. He's looking for a label. He thinks if he can just name it, he can control it.
That's the function of expertise, isn't it? To categorize chaos, to put it in a box.
Oh.
But logic fails him here. There's no precedent. This is the moment the software of science just crashes. It cannot categorize the problem, and then the inevitable happens. The expert becomes the victim.
That scene is so visceral. He's at home, he's poring over his books, trying to solve this puzzle, and then he realizes he can't see his hands. But the moment that really stood out to me was when he goes to the mirror.
Yes, it's a profound philosophical horror. He looks in the mirror and realizes his image can see him, but he cannot see his image.
The reciprocity of the world has broken.
The mirror, which is usually the tool of self-confirmation, I am here, I exist, becomes a tool of complete erasure. It's terrifying.
And once the doctor goes blind, the institutional panic really sets in, the government gets involved, and their reaction is, well, it's pure system preservation. It reminded me so much of Foucault's ideas about biopolitics, the state just managing biological bodies.
It is the cold calculus of the state. They don't see patients. They see a biological error that needs to be contained. The ministry calls it a national catastrophe. And their solution isn't treatment because they don't know how to treat it. It's containment.
It's quarantine.
But a very specific kind. They need to cut the gangrenous limb off to save the body politic.
So they reopen an empty mental hospital. an asylum, and they just start rounding people up and dumping them in there.
And you have to note the choice of location. A mental hospital, a place of institutional absence, a place designed to keep the abnormal away from the normal. It's a space where civil rights have already been historically suspended.
It's a space where the social contract doesn't apply.
Precisely. And the logic they use is terrifying. The official on the phone says something like, death isn't catching, yet we all die. It's like they've already written these people off as dead. They're just trying to manage the optics and the spread.
They're managing a problem, not caring for people.
Exactly. They create a quarantine. But it's not a hospital. It's a prison. And this brings us to the second act of this disaster, the asylum. This is where we see what happens when the social system is compressed into a pressure cooker.
So the doctor and his wife are taken there, and we really need to talk about the wife because she is the pivot point, the whole novel. But let's just set the stage first. The environment is just awful.
It is a space of total deprivation and institutional neglect. And the rules, do you remember the loudspeaker?
Oh, God, yes. The loudspeaker broadcast. It plays every day. It lists 15 rules, and they're just brutal. Leaving means death.
No outside contact, bury your own dead.
If the lights go out, they will not be fixed.
It's the maintenance of order through pure terror. It's not, we are here helping you recover. It's, stay in your box or we will kill you.
There's no legitimacy there.
None. What's fascinating here is that order is maintained not because the internees agree to the rules, but purely by threat. You have soldiers at the gate with guns. But inside there is no authority. It's a vacuum. And systems absolutely hate a vacuum.
And in that vacuum, hygiene and decorum are the very first things to go. Saramago spends a lot of time describing the filth. I mean, it's uncomfortable to read, it's disgusting, but why focus so much on the poot?
Because it is systemic. Hygiene is a system. It requires water, infrastructure, social norms, and social shame. When you remove the ability to see dirt and you remove the water to clean it, civilization collapses with shocking speed.
The latrines. The struggle just to find the bathroom, let alone use it cleanly.
There's a key scene where the doctor, a man of status, of hygiene, of civilization, loses his way in the darkness and soils himself. He can't clean himself. He is lost in the whiteness and the stench. And it just destroys his ego.
That's when he says, there are many ways of becoming an animal. This is just the first of them.
That is a key quote. It shows that our humanity is so closely tied to our ability to maintain our borders, our physical borders, our cleanliness. When that collapses, shame collapses. And when shame collapses, the social order dissolves.
Because shame is a regulatory mechanism.
A very powerful one. We don't do certain things partly because we are ashamed to be seen doing them.
And speaking of the social order dissolving, we have to talk about the hoodlums. The thugs from the Third Ward.
The tyranny of the ward. This is where the power vacuum gets filled.
So as more and more people are crammed into this asylum, resources get scarce, the food is delivered, but it's never enough. The soldiers just leave the containers at the gate and run away.
They're terrified.
And then a group in one of the wards, led by a man they call the blind accountant, decides to take control.
It is the rise of a dictatorship in a microcosm. And he has the one thing that gives him ultimate power in this environment. A weapon. A gun.
A gun in the land of the blind. It seems almost ridiculous, but it works.
It works perfectly. It doesn't matter that he can't see to aim. The threat of the noise, the threat of the bullet is enough. He fires a shot into the air and everyone freezes. In that moment, they take the food hostage.
This is scarcity economics at its absolute worst. They control the supply chain, and if you control the calories, you control the people. First, they demand valuables. Give us your rings, your watches, your earrings, and you can eat.
They're literally stripping the inner needs of their past status symbols. A Rolex means nothing if you can't see the time, but it still has value as currency to the thugs who think they might one day get out.
But once the valuables are gone, the demand changes. And this is where the novel goes into its absolute darkest territory.
They demand women.
It's horrific. They just say it over the makeshift barricade. If you want food, send us your women.
This systemic insight Saramago is forcing us to look at. In the absence of oversight, literally, the absence of sight power reverts to raw, brute force. The social contract, which says we protect the weak and vulnerable, becomes a predation cycle. If I have the gun and you have the hunger, I own you.
And other men in the ward, the husbands, the fathers, they let it happen.
That is the most disturbing part of it all. The normalization of the horror. The men rationalize it. They say, we have to eat. It's the only way. They collectively agree to sacrifice the women to save themselves.
But now we have to introduce the one variable that changes everything, the anomaly in the system, The doctor's wife.
The doctor's wife.
Yeah.
The only person in the entire book, and eventually it seems the entire world, who can still see.
And yet she fakes blindness. She fakes it to stay with her husband. She gets on the bus to the asylum, pretending to stumble, pretending to be lost in the white.
Which is this incredible act of love, but as the book goes on, it becomes clear that it's also a curse. A terrible, terrible curse.
It is absolutely a curse. I think a lot of people reading this might imagine, oh, if I could see in a world of the blind, I would be king, I would rule. But Saramago doesn't do that at all.
No. He doesn't write her as a superhero. She is a burdened witness. She's the only one who sees the degradation that everyone else is, in a strange way, protected from by their blindness.
That's a really interesting point. The other blind people, they can smell the filth, they can feel it on their skin, but they don't have to look at it. She does.
She sees the vile and insidious monster of fear on their faces. She sees the squalor. She sees the physical decay. She sees the shit on the floor, the bodies of the dead. She has to see all of it.
She becomes the moral memory of the group. She cleans them. She guides them to the bathroom. She buries the dead. She's desperately trying to keep them human.
But think about the isolation of that position. She is observing the most private behavior of the blind couples making love in the hallways, fights, people relieving themselves in public. She has this constant internal conflict where she thinks, I have no right to look if the others cannot see me.
It's the obscenity of observation without consent. It feels like a violation, even though she is trying to help.
Precisely. She is a voyeur by necessity, and it eats away at her dignity just as much as the filth eats away at theirs. She carries the weight of civilization's memory on her shoulders. If she forgets what normal looked like, then normal is gone forever.
But she is also the only one who can truly act. And that brings us back to the hoodlums and their horrific demand for the women.
The rape scene, or what we might call the cost of survival. It's one of the most difficult passages in modern literature.
It's devastating to read. The women in the ward, they agree to go. They feel they have no choice. The hunger is too great. And even the doctor's wife goes with them. She doesn't use her sight to escape it. She goes to protect the others, to be part of the collective suffering.
And the men, the husbands, they wait, and then they accept the food.
That just broke me. The doctor eats the food that was paid for with his wife's body.
It is the absolute normalization of cruelty. It shows how quickly civilization adapts to the unthinkable when survival is at stake. The system of morality is completely rewritten. Food is good, starvation is bad. Therefore, anything that gets food is acceptable. It is purely utilitarian, and it is hideous.
But the doctor's wife reaches a breaking point. On the second trip, she brings a pair of scissors.
A small domestic tool. Not a weapon of war, not a gun. A pair of scissors.
She hides them in her clothes, and during the assault, she finds the leader of the hoodlums, the man with the gun. She can see him, he can't see her, and she stabs him in the neck.
And you have to note the shift in justice here. It shifts from law, which doesn't exist anymore, to pure survival. But it's more than revenge. It's a systemic correction.
What do you mean by that?
There is no authority to appeal to. God is silent. The government is gone. The soldiers are shooting anyone who comes near the gate. She realizes in that moment that she is the only authority left, the only check on their power. Her act is necessary to break the deadlock of the asylum.
It's a moment of absolute clarity for her. She washes the blood off afterwards and she says, I killed a man. But she doesn't crumble. She doesn't fall apart.
No, because the act was necessary to break the system of predation. But the chaos doesn't end there. One of the women, the one with insomnia, dies after the assault. And in the ensuing panic and rebellion against the thugs, a fire is set.
The internees set fire to the pile of mattresses and rubbish that the thugs had used as a barricade. It grows out of control. The whole building starts to burn.
And they rush the gate, fully expecting to be shot by the soldiers. They're screaming, "Don't shoot! We are burning!"
But no shots come.
Nothing. Silence from the guards.
They spill out into the yard. The fresh air hits them, and they realize the soldiers are gone. Or rather, the soldiers have gone blind too. The panopticon, the prison guard system, has failed because the watchers are now blind.
And so the asylum burns, and the internees spill out into the world. But the world they enter isn't the one they left behind.
Not at all. And this brings us to the next section of our discussion. The city after collapse.
And what a landscape it is.
It's a graveyard. But not of people, initially. It's a graveyard of cars. Buses abandoned in the middle of the street. Cars crashed into buildings.
Because the drivers went blind mid-drive.
Wow.
It's a frozen moment of the collapse, captured perfectly.
Right. And now the city is filled with these roving groups of blind scavengers. He calls them tribes.
This is a key systems concept. Spontaneous order. When the top-down order of government fails, a kind of bottom-up order emerges. People move in groups, roped together, holding hands. You can't survive alone in the white darkness. You need a pack.
The doctor's wife leads her little group, her family, through this nightmare landscape, and they find a supermarket.
The scene in the supermarket basement is straight out of a horror story. The desperation, the smell of rotting food mixed with food they can't find. The place has been ransacked, but mostly by people just feeling around blindly.
But the doctor's wife, because she can see, finds the storeroom. It's untouched. She loads up on food, but then she has to sneak past the other blind scavengers.
And she sees them sniffing the air, sensing the food. It's completely primal. They're like zombies, but they aren't monsters. They are just hungry people.
And outside, the city is in a state of what the book calls white darkness. No electricity, no running water, no news. The information age has ended overnight. There is no internet, no radio. The only reality is what you can touch and smell. There's a moment in this chaos that really stuck with me. They wander into an apartment building to rest, and they find a writer.
Ah, yes, the writer.
He's sitting in his house in the white dark, and he's writing. He's using a ballpoint pen to carve lines into paper that he can't see.
He tells them, I am only passing through. It's such a poignant image of the human need to leave a mark, to create meaning, even when there is no one left to read it. It's the opposite of the system component we talked about earlier. Here is an individual refusing to be erased. He is maintaining his function as a writer, even if the system of publishing and reading has completely vanished.
And then, the church scene. This feels like the spiritual climax of the book for me.
This is one of the most powerful and chilling images in the entire book.
The group enters a church. They are looking for shelter, or maybe just a moment of solace. And the doctor's wife looks up at the altar, and she sees that all the statues, the saints, the angels, the Virgin Mary, have their eyes covered.
They're blindfolded with strips of white cloth.
A priest must have done it, presumably, before he went blind or died, or maybe before he lost his mind.
The theological implication is just devastating. If humanity is blind, the gods must be blind too. Or perhaps a more damning interpretation. The gods do not deserve to see this suffering.
It's an accusation against the divine. It's saying, if you let this happen, you don't get to watch.
And when the doctor's wife tells the crowd in the church, the blind people who are still praying, that the statues are blindfolded, panic just erupts.
They realize there is no one watching over them, not even heaven.
And that realization that we are truly, fundamentally alone is the ultimate system shock. If there is no divine witness and no state witness, then morality is purely, terrifyingly up to us.
But, and this is where the book turns, where it keeps you from falling into total despair. In the midst of all this horror, Saramago gives us a moment of just incredible beauty, the rain scene.
Yes, this is where we get into seeing, blindness, and responsibility.
So the group has found a place to stay, an apartment. It starts to rain, a torrential downpour. And the women, the doctor's wife, the girl with dark glasses, the wife of the first blind man, they go out onto the balcony.
And they wash.
They wash away the filth of the asylum. They wash away the trauma of the rape. They wash away the smell of the dead city. They scrub each other's backs.
It is a baptism. It is a reclamation of dignity. Amidst all the filth and horror, the women create a new, small social system based on care rather than transaction. I wash you, you wash me. It's intimate. It's human. It is the counter-argument to the entire asylum.
And the doctor's wife looks at them and sees that they are beautiful. Even in their emaciated, dirty state, she sees their beauty.
And this leads us to Saramago's core inversion. The doctor says something incredibly profound in this section. He says, I don't think we did go blind. I think we are blind, blind but seeing, blind people who can see but do not see.
That line just stops you in your tracks. Blind people who can see but do not see.
He's reframing the entire epidemic. The white sickness isn't a disease of the eyes. It's a disease of the soul or of society itself. It represents our constant daily refusal to see the other.
So we were already blind?
Metaphorically, yes. We live in a world where we look at people all the time, but we don't truly see them. We don't see their suffering. We don't see their humanity. We walk past unhoused people every day and don't see them. Saramago saying, now the physical reality matches the ethical reality. Now you are all unhoused and you all cannot see.
And that brings us to the group dynamic, this little found family. The doctor, his wife, the girl with dark glasses, the old man with the eye patch, the boy with the squint, and the first blind couple. There's such a weird mix.
They're a cross-section of society. A doctor, a sex worker, which is implied with the girl with dark glasses, a thief, the first blind man's car thief who joins them later, an old man, a child. In the normal world, they never would have mixed.
The doctor's wife wouldn't have been washing the girl with dark glasses on a balcony.
Absolutely not. The doctor might have treated the old man as a patient, but he wouldn't have shared his last piece of bread with him. But here, they form a functional, interdependent unit. They survive because they pool resources. They survive because they trust their seeing God, the doctor's wife, but she also relies on them. She needs them for purpose. Without them, she's just a woman watching the world end. With them, she is a leader, a mother, a caregiver.
It's true interdependence. It's the anti-asylum. In the asylum, it was dog eat dog. Here, it's we eat together.
And that connects directly, so directly, to the purpose of our Crisis and Perception project.
Right, let's make that link explicit. Perception as infrastructure.
We often talk about infrastructure as roads and bridges and the power grid. But blindness argues that norms, things as simple as waiting in line, not stealing, basic hygiene, are invisible systems. They are our social infrastructure, and they require the gaze of others to function.
When the gaze disappears, the infrastructure crumbles almost instantly.
But notice this, and this is key. The crisis didn't create the cruelty in the asylum or the city. The cruelty, the car thief, the sexual exploitation of the hoodlums, was already there. It was latent.
The thief was always a thief. The rapists were always rapists.
The white sickness just removed the check. It removed the fear of being seen. It exposed the cruelty that was already baked into the system, just held in place by social pressure.
And on the flip side, it exposed the kindness too, right? The doctor's wife didn't magically become a saint because of the blindness. She was always that person. The crisis just gave her the stage to act on it.
Exactly. The crisis reveals. It acts as a developer fluid for the photograph of humanity. It shows us who we really are when the lights are too bright to see.
Which brings us to the conclusion, the cliffhanger, or maybe the resolution. It's hard to tell.
The group has established a fragile domesticity in the doctor's apartment. They're getting by, they're finding water, they're caring for each other, and then, at the very, very end of the source material.
The doctor's wife is looking out the window at the sky. She's drinking a cup of water, and she looks up and she sees everything white.
She thinks, finally, it is my turn. She fears she is finally turning blind herself.
My heart just stopped when I read that. After everything she carried, after all she had seen and done, it felt so profoundly unfair.
But then, the twist. She lowers her eyes, and she sees the city is still there.
She is not blind yet.
The city was still there. It's this moment of incredible relief, but also so much ambiguity. Why is she spared? Is it because she accepted the burden of seeing, or is there no reason at all? Is it just random chance?
Or is she the designated witness, the one who has to remember, so that if, and it's big if, when civilization comes back, we know what happened, we know what we're capable of.
And that is the lesson of blindness. Civilization is an incredibly thin veneer. It is a shared hallucination, a story that we all agree to participate in. And it can vanish in an instant.
And what about ethics? What's the takeaway there?
Ethics is what remains when the system collapses. Responsibility exists even when no one is watching. In fact, it exists especially when no one is watching. That is the true test of character.
We are ghosts if we lose our connection to one another.
That's it. Without that connection, without that shared perception and shared care, we are just wandering aimlessly in the Milky Sea.
So here's the final provocative thought for you listening. If we all went blind tomorrow, if the internet went down, if the grid failed, if the eyes of society effectively closed, which systems would survive in your community? Would we revert to the asylum with the gun and the food hoarding? Or could we find a way to build the balcony in the rain?
It's a question worth asking before the lights change.
Absolutely. This deep dive was based on Blindness by José Saramago.
We strongly encourage reading the novel or borrowing it from a library. It is an experience you will not forget. It is difficult, but it's necessary reading, I think.
This project is free and publicly accessible. If you'd like to support the time, tools, and research behind Crisis and Perception, you can become a supporter on Patreon.
For a shorter visual overview of this topic, see the mini explainer linked in the description.
If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.